Hey folks, this is Pastor Jim from Crosspoint Church in Bettendorf, Iowa. A quick study of the nursery rhymes that we teach our children will reveal that many of these songs and poems have a dark history or a dark hidden meaning. Ring Around the Rosies, for instance, many believe was written about the Great Plague in London that took the lives of nearly 15% of the population. Others believe that it was a 19th century ban on dancing by Protestants. London Bridge's falling down, many believe, was about the 9th century attacks of Vikings, and the builders of the bridge, the architects of the bridge, conducted, allegedly, child sacrifices, believing that the security of the architecture of the bridge itself, the foundation, was dependent on human sacrifice. We have some of that in the church, too. One of the most popular stories that we'll tell in the church is that of the fall of Jericho. And if you grew up in the church, you know the story that the armies of Israel walk around the city for 6 days, once a day, and then on the seventh day they walk around it seven times, and they blow the trumpets and gave a great shout, and the walls just fall down on themselves. And we love to tell that part of the story, God's great victory of how he delivers Jericho to the people of Israel. We don't really tell the part, at least to our kids, very much, where the armies of Israel were commanded by God to then go into Jericho and kill every living inhabitant, the men, the women, the children, the babies, the grandmas. Everybody got their throats slit. It's a really dark and disturbing story of genocide that does not fit at all into our narrative, our Western narrative of who God is and what we believe to be acceptable practice by civilized people. How do we reconcile all this? How do we reconcile the God of love and grace and peace with a God who would give the command to his armies to go kill every inhabitant, little babies, old women? It's tragic. The answer is there is no simple solution. Some have believed that the narrative is completely inconsistent with the rest of the biblical narrative of God's grace and should be discounted. For others, they would argue that the story was written hundreds of years later by a Deuteronomist, probably during the reign of Josiah, with the idea of creating fear and awe and obedience throughout the revivals that were happening in Israel at that time. For some, it never happened in the first place. The city of Jericho was never existed at the time frame that allegedly these things happened, and shouldn't even be counted into any sort of part of the credible history of the people of Israel. And for others, most of us, we sort of tell part of the story, but we largely ignore the rest of it. We're going to explore these concepts more thoroughly this next Sunday, and I think you'll find it interesting. But let me just speak to this part of it. The God of love and the God of grace is also the God of judgment. He opposes the unrighteous. He opposes the proud. He hates sin in all of its forms, and will do whatever needs to be done to get rid of it. And it should create in us, as his people, two things really. It should create in us, first of all, a profound sense of gratitude that we have escaped the judgment because of the person, the work of Christ, because of his atonement on the cross, his death, his sacrifice on the cross. We escape the judgment, the righteous judgment of God. And the second thing that it should do for us, it should create in us a sense of urgency. We all have people in our lives that are not saved, that don't believe, and it should fill in us a sense of urgency to share the love of share the gospel of God's love and his grace, so that they also can avoid God's righteous judgment. Perhaps there's no better time than the Christmas season, when we sing of our Lord Jesus as the Prince of Peace, the one that came to be with his people, to bring salvation, to save us, to enter into his creation, to become flesh and dwell among us. Maybe there's no better time than this season right now to share the love and the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ with people that need to hear it. I hope you can join us this Sunday at 9:15 and 11. It's going to be interesting, and I think we'll learn some things about the character of God and the great love that He has for us. Thanks for listening. I'll see you then.
Here's what's coming up at Crosspoint Church. Crosspoint Church presents Everything Glorious, a Christmas choir performance. Join us on Christmas Eve at 4:30 p.m. or 6 o'clock. We will enjoy amazing music and a candle lighting ceremony. You do not want to miss this evening of worship. If Crosspoint failed to exist, would people know that we were gone? There are several ways to serve our Quad City community. For 7th through 12th graders, we serve every second Saturday at King's Harvest. And our ladies serve at the Cafe on the Vine every third Sunday of the month. Sign up and help make an impact in our community. Are you in need of prayer? Often we have situations that come up in our lives that we would love to have others join us in praying for those needs. If you would like prayer or like to be a part of the prayer line, please send your request to prayer@qccrosspoint.org.